Welcome to your daily brief of business and finance. This is Roger. Today we have central bank developments from Japan and the United States, escalating trade tensions with China, and significant government intervention in strategic industries. Bank of Japan Governor Kazuo Ueda signaled optimism for another interest rate hike as wage growth spreads beyond large firms to small and medium enterprises. Quote, barring a major negative demand shock, the labor market is expected to remain tight and continue to exert upward pressure on wages. Ueda spoke at the Federal Reserve Annual Conference in Jackson Hole, highlighting Japan's break from decades of deflationary expectation. Nearly two-thirds of economists now expect the BOJI to raise rates by at least 25 basis points later this year. The Federal Reserve is now expressing concern about the housing market, marking the first time such worries appeared in recent meeting minutes. Quote, a few participants noted a weakening in housing demand, with increased availability of homes for sale and falling house prices. Residential investment has declined significantly in the first half of the year. Housing activity has historically served as a leading economic indicator, making this development particularly noteworthy for broader economic health. Global central bankers gathered at Jackson Hole expressed deep concern about political pressure on Federal Reserve independence. European Central Bank policymaker Olli Rehn stated that, quote, politically motivated attacks on the Fed have a spiritual spillover to the rest of the world. Central bankers warned that Fed capitulation would set a dangerous precedent globally, potentially ending 4 decades of relative price stability. Markets have not yet registered deep concerns, but the institutional implications run far deeper than immediate market reactions. President Trump fired Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook in an unprecedented move that further undermines confidence in Fed independence. The dollar fell against major currencies while gold touched a 2-week high following the announcement. Quote, there is no credibility. That is the basis of the United States being the safest investment in the world, according to one Tokyo-based strategist. Fed funds futures now price in 83% odds of a September rate cut. The government announced a 10% stake in Intel worth $8.9 billion through CHIPS Act funding. Trump posted on Truth Social that he will, quote, make deals like that for our country all day long. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett confirmed this is part of a broader sovereign wealth fund strategy. The move represents unprecedented federal intervention in private enterprise outside of crisis periods. Though officials stress the government will not involve itself in company operations. Trump threatened 200% tariffs on China if rare earth magnet exports are curbed. Quote, they have to give us magnets. If they do not give us magnets, then we have to charge them 200% tariffs or something. China controls 90% of global rare earth magnet supply, giving Beijing significant leverage in trade negotiations. The current trade truce between the nations expires in November with unclear renewal prospects. Producer prices jumped 0.9% in July, marking the biggest increase in 3 years. Some economists attribute this surge to tariffs implemented by the Trump administration. When producer costs rise, companies typically pass these increases to consumers or accept reduced profit margins. The disconnect between soaring markets and rising inflation creates an interesting dynamic worth monitoring closely. Société Générale strategist Albert Edwards warns that the technology sector now comprises 37% of the United States stock market, exceeding the dot-com era peak. Quote, how do you look at this happening in the United States and not conclude that other countries are easier targets? With 10-year Treasury yields offering over 4%, the traditional there is no alternative argument for high equity valuations weakens considerably. Edwards acknowledges his bearish calls have not served as effective near-term timing tools, but the structural concerns remain valid. South Korea pledged $150 billion toward United States shipbuilding as part of a broader $350 billion investment package. Hanwha Group plans to expand Philadelphia shipyard output from fewer than 2 vessels annually to as many as 20. Legal hurdles, including the Jones Act, and Barnes-Tollefson Amendment limit foreign participation in domestic shipbuilding. The initiative aims to counter China's 83% share of global commercial shipbuilding, though training local workers could take 4 to 5 years. Trump met with South Korean President Lee Jae-myung to discuss their recent trade agreement capping tariffs at 15%. The president expressed his, quote, great relationship with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and looks forward to meeting in the appropriate future. Lee even suggested the possibility of a Trump Tower in North Korea, drawing laughter from others in the room. While diplomatically significant, the economic implications remain limited to the existing Korean trade framework. United States stock futures continued their pullback from record highs following Trump's escalation of attacks on Federal Reserve independence. Dow Jones futures fell 71 points while S&P 500 and Nasdaq futures declined 0.23% and 0.35% respectively. The moves came after investors took profits following Friday's rally, with markets now focused on Nvidia's upcoming earnings report on Wednesday. Quote, I still think long-term. The dominant theme of this bull market is AI, according to one strategist, who views any tech weakness as a buying opportunity. That wraps up today's briefing. This is Roger for Financial Dope. Stay steady and stay informed.